Welcome back, YouTube. For years, my collection has been about celebrating the art of other creators, master sculptors, legendary studios, and iconic characters brought to life at museum scale. But today, this piece is different. This is Clayface, not from Prime 1, not from XM, not from Sideshow, but a 3D print that I printed myself. And I'll be honest, I didn't expect this to turn out the way it did. This might be the first 3D printed statue I've painted, but I didn't want it to look that way on a first attempt. Clayface isn't about clean lines or perfection. He's about raw form, aggression, and controlled chaos. And once I started painting this, I realized just how much freedom this character actually gives you. This isn't just a reveal, it's a step outside my comfort zone, and possibly the beginning of something new. Now, let's get into it.
Before diving in, here's a quick little look at my makeshift paint booth and studio. I just utilized an unfinished portion of my basement workshop area. Also, I raided Amazon for all sorts of supplies to help express my creativity.
I'm a peacock! You gotta let me fly!
To kick off this endeavor, I wanted to try and see how I could channel my creativity into a piece, moving from pure collector to hands-on creator.
What the hell's wrong with you?
The appeal of Clayface was a no-brainer. Not only have I been after a piece of him forever, but Clayface felt like the perfect character to start with, because he's supposed to be imperfect, unstable, constantly shifting. That gave me permission to experiment. Here we have the raw 360 print of him. Unlike polished heroes, Clayface lives in texture. Every crack, ripple, and uneven surface actually adds to the realism. The print itself was exceptionally well done. It required minimum prep work or sanding. Once primed, it really started to pop out and show its true level of detail. Particularly apparent was the exceptional use of texture on him. He really gives a sense of oozing, and the pose itself highlights his abilities and powers. Once the print was fully prepared and primed, the first real decision was color. I chose a chocolate brown. I didn't want Clayface to look flat or toy-like, so instead of one solid brown, I started with a layered base. Later, lighter tones to establish form, darker tones to sink into the crevices. Right from the start, the goal was depth, not cleanliness. After all, he's sitting in a sewer.
Fresh, energetic.
Ooh, I love its rawness.
Stop critiquing me, okay? I'm a human being. I'm not a piece of art.
As the layers built up, I focused on variation, because real organic material is never one color. I worked darker tones into the deeper recesses to give the piece weight, and lighter highlights across raised areas to keep everything from collapsing into a single muddy mass and rusted it out everywhere. The trick here was restraint, knowing when to stop. There were definitely moments where things didn't go as planned. Some areas got too dark, others lost definition. But instead of stripping it back, I adjusted, glazing over mistakes, softening transitions, and letting imperfections stay where they made sense. Clayface should not look perfect. This was the moment where the sculpt really started to speak. Clayface isn't polished, he's unstable, he's constantly shifting, and I wanted the paint to reflect that. Instead of fighting the roughness, I leaned into it. Every ridge, crack, and uneven surface became part of the character. Final essential details were dialed in via multiple washes and environmental textures, as well as paint applications. It was so much fun and super enjoyable, something my demographic would love for sure.
Who's your demographic?
Do you love pussy?
I do.
Then not you.
What surprised me most about this endeavor wasn't the process. It was how natural this felt. I wasn't trying to replicate a studio piece. I was trying to make Clayface feel alive.
That doesn't make sense.
Once everything was in place, the last step was knowing when to stop. It's easy to keep adding more texture, more contrast, more weathering. But Clayface already had what he needed. When I stepped back and looked at the full piece, it felt cohesive, heavy, and alive. Once sealed, this was actually the first time I've looked at a piece in my collection and thought, I brought this to life. Here I have a final quick still shot of him, front facing in the makeshift paint booth. And here we have the insane back shot of this big boy.
I don't like girls.
One of the areas I was most curious about, and honestly most nervous about, was the back of the statue. Clayface has a lot of mass, and if it didn't work, the whole piece would fall apart. Instead of overworking it, I treated the back the same I treated the front. Layered tones, uneven texture, and embedded teeth and faces to make it feel like he's formed from the environment around him. There are definitely imperfections back here, but for Clayface, those imperfections actually add to the realism. This isn't skin, this is earth, clay, and rubble barely holding a humanoid shape. Once I saw the back completed, that's when I knew this piece worked as a full 360-degree statue. Not just a front-facing display, but a full-out, mind-blowing piece.
Thank you, Fred. Oh, I'm getting hard. Please.
Seeing this piece in a full 360 degrees really highlights just how much transformation happened here. The raw print already had strong mass and movement, but it was the paint that gave it weight, depth, and personality. Clayface isn't meant to be clean or uniform. He's constantly shifting, formed from the environment around him. The goal wasn't perfection, it was presence. And once the final layers were down, the statue finally felt complete from every angle. Collecting for me has always been about passion, but creating, that hits a little different. This character benefits from shadows and depth. Clayface is one of the rare antagonists where texture does more storytelling than polish ever could.
This Clayface reminds me why I fell in love with this hobby in the first place. Not just collecting art, but engaging with it. And it shows this hobby still has doors to open for you. Trying something new doesn't take away from what you love. It expands on it. This won't replace studio pieces by any means, but it can stand next to them. And this is just the beginning. I already have 4 more prints on deck. So if you've ever thought about trying something new in the hobby, let this be your sign. It's super fun and rewarding.
I knew something special about it, you know?
Thanks for being part of the journey. Until we meet again, keep your passion for collecting alive and your love for superheroes soaring.